I'm Dermot Hussey. Welcome to the YouTube channel for the podcast, Riffin Radio. Pianist Monty Alexander is best known for working with a trio, and more recently with the large group, the Harlem Kingston Express. Monty's first attempt at leading a group actually happened in Jamaica in school, Monty and the Cyclones. I spoke to one of the founding members, Dr. Vidal Smith. Vidal, tell us about Monty and the Cyclones. Were you a founding member of the group? How was it formed?
Well, actually, Monty and the Cyclones, well, I'm a founding member, and unfortunately, Monty and I are the only remaining founding members. The others have all deceased. You had Neville Anderson, Derek Gordon, and Bernie Eldemeyer. They're all gone, unfortunately. So I'm the only one, myself and Monty, who, thank God, we stay very close together, are the original founding members of Monty and the Cyclones. The group started back at the end of '58 when I went to high school at Jamaica College. The year previous to that, I got a guitar as a gift from my mother and started playing the guitar. And when I went to JC, or Jamaica College, JC as it's shortened called, I just automatically wanted to find someone or some friends, make friends who were involved musically. And fortunately, it was Monty, myself, Monty, Neville Anderson, Derek Gordon, and Bernie Eldemeyer. The group hadn't been formed yet, but I am not sure what it is that got it going. But I would say that the group started at the end of '58, the beginning of 1959. We started out just enjoying ourselves playing music together. And as time went by, we got better and better at what we were trying to do.
How did you get instruments, and what was the instrumentation of the group?
Funny enough, when we first started, I had a guitar, which, as I said, was given to me by my mother. Derek Gordon had a guitar also. Neville Anderson, he used to play keyboards. He could play a piano, just about anything, any kind of keyboard. And Bernie Eldemeyer was a drummer, and he had his own set of drums. So it seemed like everything came together at the right place at the right time. I switched from guitar to playing the bass for the simple reason that we didn't want two guitars involved in the group, and Derek Gordon was the other guitarist. He was quite a good guitarist too. And unfortunately, he had to pass on. Bernie, who was a drummer, was a heck of a good drummer. And Neville Anderson, as I said, was a keyboardist. And we found that him playing an accordion of all things, that Monty had, fitted it nicely into the sound that, Monty and the Cyclones produced. So basically,
was it a school band, or was it kind of a more professional attitude that you had?
Well, we developed a professional attitude pretty quickly because, yes, it was a school band just among schoolmates and friends. However, the better we got, the more professional we got, to the point that we started making records. In fact, most of our records we made at the time were in the top 5 of the Jamaican hit parade back in the late 50s, early 60s. So apparently we were doing something pretty decent. And all of a sudden people were contacting us, wanting us to play at different venues, especially different high schools, where we played for different, for whatever reason it is, Wolmer's Girls School, St. Andrew High School for Girls. It's funny enough, most of these places that required or requested us playing were all females.
Nice.
High school.
Nice.
So, I'm not sure the reason, if it was for music or what, they were doing this, but we enjoyed it. As I said, we got better and better. And Derek Gordon's father owned Gordon's record store. It was a record store in Jamaica at the time, in Kingston. And believe it or not, he was the one that arranged our very first recording session. You may be familiar with the old, I don't remember, it was a JVC at the time on Lindus Road. And we did a recording. I mean, we had a session consisting of one mic.
That was RGR, and Lindus Road would have been rated.
Okay, right. I wasn't sure which one.
Rated Jamaica, yes.
Or what. But we did a recording session, I'll never forget. And that song we did was called Doggett. Doggett. And that basically was based off, we were all big fans of Bill Doggett, the old organist, from back in the 50s. And it, the song itself had a very, what I call a chugging rhythm. And we just called it Doggett. That song put our name on the map in Jamaica. And from that, on the flip side of that, we did our version of Summertime. And then there was Stack Is Back. We did about 4 or 5 different songs. Believe it or not, a lot of them are on YouTube. So if somebody can go ahead and listen to Monty, search for Monty and the Cyclones, and they'll get a lot of information as to what we sounded like back in those days.
Besides doing the recordings, I mean, what were your audiences like? You mentioned it was predominantly female, but outside of the secondary school atmosphere, what was the kind of commercial world like then?
Okay, we did a lot of, funny enough, in those days we used to have what they call Saturday morning shows at the different theaters. And Sonny Bradshaw would hire us to perform because he was producing quite a few of these shows at the Carib Theater, State, a couple other things, the Tropical Theater, a couple other theaters. And he would, hire us to perform, at the Saturday morning shows. We had one, I would say, I don't want to say the big break, but we played at the Glass Bucket, which was a club we had in Jamaica. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Back, I think that was 1 or 2 of our only gigs that we had. That was outside of the, the movie theater and the school performances that we did.
How did Monty's talent develop within the group?
Monty was in the class by himself. Monty was being Monty in that it's almost to the point where at times he would get upset with us for not playing what he heard and what he wanted to play. But people don't realize that Monty plays everything by ear. Monty can't read a note of music. But he had that God-given talent where, he knew what he wanted things to sound like, and would actually get upset at times for not, things not sounding the way he wanted it to sound. And this was just him, but how can anybody complain when he had such a gifted, talented individual? In fact, it got to the point where I think, personally, I think we were holding him back, and I was happy when he, made the decision to migrate to the United States and come to Florida, to Miami. Fortunately, while being a Monty and the Cyclones, he was doing a lot of gigs with Coxon. He had regular gig up at UE. At the time, back in the late 50s, early 60s, they had a little nightclub up in Papine.
He said he used to steal out of school.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. We used to steal out together and go over there and play. Well, I was there listening more than anything. I was trying to learn something because the musicians in that little group up there was Ernest Ranglin, Carl McLeod, who was playing drums. I'm trying to remember the bass player. I don't remember the bass player offhand. And Monty. And we would steal out and go up there and I'd listen to Monty play. Or we'd steal out together from high school and go down to Myrtle Bank. We became very good friends with a group of Australian musicians who were hired to play at Myrtle Bank. People like Dennis Sindri, who played guitar, a hell of a guitarist. What's the name of the keyboard player? In fact, the keyboard player just passed the other day. I can't remember his name, but we used to steal out and go there and listen. Then when Monty started playing with Duke Reed and Coxon and those guys, we'd steal out and go to the studios. And I would sit at the feet of people like Roland Alfonso, Don Drummond, and listen. This was such a experience for me because I was the only one had that interest and had that ability to go and, as they used to say in those days, teeth out, so that we could appreciate, what was going on. But as I said, Monty's talent was so ahead of everything and everyone that he had to get on Monty and the Cyclones. It was a stepping stone, and I think it, as I tried to explain earlier on, it started out being something where students of like mind and like ideas just got together and wanted to play some music and have fun.
Earned a little money at the same time.
Yes, we did. We did earn a little. And believe me, it was little. It was little. When I say that, you know what it was like in those days. So, but it was not so much for the money, but for the excitement of being able to perform in front of a big crowd, and to be appreciated as a performer. All performers like to be appreciated live, and we got that opportunity. It was fun.
Roughly how long did the band last?
I want to say from 1959 to probably 61, the end of 61, 62. Just before Monty migrated to the United States.
61, I think.
When he left, that was it. When he left, that was, Monty and the Cyclones no longer existed. But fortunately, Neville Anderson and I were able to start another, the Mighty Vikings. A lot of people don't realize that we were the original founders of the Mighty Vikings in Jamaica back then. But
and it wasn't possible for the Cyclones to do a reunion, eh?
Not really, because unfortunately, one of the original Cyclones who played guitar, Derek Gordon, he passed at a pretty young age. He was teaching at the University of the West Indies and had a massive heart attack. The only ones that left was Neville Anderson. He passed about 2-3 years ago. Bernie, I don't know. I lost track with Bernie from the time I left JC and migrated to the United States. So I really lost track as to what happened. But as far as the reunion goes, I spoke with Monty just last week. We speak a month doesn't pass and Monty and I don't communicate with each other. And jokingly I said, well, I wish we could have honorable Monty and the Cyclones reunion as a mention. And all he did was laugh. You could sense, hey, that would be nice, but it's virtually impossible.
Teddy, man, thank you so much for these recollections. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Music alone shall live.
Only, as Shakespeare has said, if music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, not so appetite. The appetite may sicken, but so there.
Thank you so much, my friend.
You're more than welcome. We both come from we both do each other pretty well, so you can understand my feelings when it comes to my music.
Yeah, man. Indeed. Thanks again.
You're more than welcome, and thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, and it was nice to be able to reminisce.